As a qualified exercise professional, you can now conduct Stage 1 and 2 of the Adult Pre-Exercise Screening Tool. Stage 1 can be used to quickly identify clients with a known disease or signs and symptoms of disease, and if clear with no other health concerns, it qualifies them for light to moderate exercise. It is also useful to give to or to send to clients ahead of time. If your client is wanting to participate in more vigorous exercise and you plan on training them at higher intensities, then it is necessary to conduct more comprehensive screening, hence the need for Stage 2 screening. The intent behind Stage 2 screening is to elicit more information from your client so that you may be better informed and also to identify their potential risk factors. The questions are more comprehensive and cover specific medical and musculoskeletal conditions. You must ask your client every question on the form and then, based on the answers, give them a numerical risk factor rating. The process is to ask each question, look to the middle column for the risk factor information, and then write the appropriate numerical value in the risk factor column. This number will either be a positive 1, meaning there is risk, 0 or a dash to indicate that there is no positive or negative risk, or -1, which reduces risk. Let's go through each of these questions. We start with their age and their gender. The middle column explains what numerical value to give the information that you receive. Here it says that for males over the age of 45 and females over the age of 55, to assign the value of +1 to the risk factor column, meaning that the client accumulates a 1 risk factor. Question 2. Family history of heart disease refers to immediate members of the first degree. So here you accumulate a 1 risk factor. Question 3, smoking. If they say yes, they accumulate 1 risk factor. Question 4, describe current physical activity. Now for this question, ensure that you get as much detail as possible about the type of exercise, including the intensity, the frequency, and the duration. You need to tick the relevant intensity box and fill in the boxes for frequency and duration. Remember to make notes on the form and write in the type of activity, such as a run, a walk, or weights. Now you may need to explain what we mean by light, moderate, and vigorous intensity. Light activities include cleaning the house, doing office duties, or floor-based exercises such as a Pilates class, where there's not much change in the breathing. You could certainly sing a tune at this intensity and continue for about 60 minutes. Moderate activities are usually between 30 and 60 minutes and include walking, an easy jog, swimming, cycling, and other activities that could go for longer, such as golf and tennis. This intensity can feel somewhat hard, but you can still hold a conversation. And this would also include easy bodyweight exercises and seated resistance training using weight machines at a light to moderate load. Vigorous exercise feels hard and is where you could answer a question but not hold a conversation. This exercise can usually be sustained for up to 30 minutes and includes running, harder cycling such as a cycle class, aerobic classes, and competitive sport. It would also include full body strength workouts that feel hard and focus on movements with free weights or similar challenging equipment. From the information collected, calculate the total minutes of exercise per week. If the client does less than 150 minutes total of training for the week, then the client accumulates a risk factor. If the client does less than 150 minutes total of training per week, then the client accumulates a risk factor. However, if they do 150 minutes or more, this actually contributes to their overall health and reduces the risk, therefore is given a numerical value of -1. Something to pay attention to is the intensity of the activity. If all exercise is reported as vigorous and is 150 or more minutes per week, then it is given a numerical value of -2. In other words, we subtract 2 risk factors. This means that vigorous activity reduces risk to a greater degree, and it doesn't matter if the vigorous exercise is cardiovascular based or resistance training or weighted or a mixture. Question 5, height and weight. This is necessary to work out your client's body mass index, which is calculated by dividing their weight by their height squared. If the BMI is more than 30, add a risk factor of +1. Questions 6, 7, and 8 are all simple yes-no questions, screening for high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and high blood sugar, all of which accumulate a risk factor. It is important to now tally the risk factors at the bottom of the risk factor column and repeat this for the risk factor stratification on the following page. Questions 9, 10, 11 and 12 are again yes-no questions to find out about hospitalisation, medication, pregnancy and any other musculoskeletal conditions. If your client answers yes to any of them, it is important you record as many details as possible. This additional information will help you to establish program considerations and intensity. For example, someone may have circled yes to having muscle soreness and pain that is made worse by activity, and you may establish that this pain is between their shoulder blades and is worse after they have spent the whole day at the computer. They have not circled yes to a muscle problem in stage 1, so whilst they are clear to commence light to moderate exercise, this shoulder pain, which is likely to be posture related, is something that you will need to consider when writing their program. It is not necessary to use stage 3, as this is optional and ideally used by exercise physiologists. The number you entered in the bottom box in the risk stratification section correlates to the 2 boxes on the right. If your client has 2 or more risk factors, then they are considered moderate risk and may participate in light to moderate activity only until these risks are lowered. If your client has 2 or less risk factors, then they are considered low risk and are allowed to participate in moderate to vigorous activity.